Okay, so we will look at one of the past papers, P2 physics. So as you can see that question number one, skydiver jumps from a stationary balloon. His initial downward acceleration is this, and this is the diagram. So you see the air resistance is working upward and weight is acting downwards. Okay, so it says that the mass is 60 kg and the weight is 600 newtons. Using the idea about the forces, why his initial downward acceleration is 10 meters per second square? 2 marks question. So we will write about that initially the only force acting on the skydiver is its weight, and every weight that falls down, it falls down with an acceleration due to gravity, which is 10 meters per second square. 2 points. And then when the parachute is open, skydiver experiences an upward acceleration. So why? Because the air resistance starts to act on the skydiver due to the parachute, and that's why it is accelerating upwards. And it experiences upward force because the air friction is acting upwards. Now, the graph is given and it tells you that the air resistance increases as the speed increases. And you can see the graph, it's a curve. And then the question is asking the terminal velocity. So the terminal velocity will be when the air resistance, when the speed of the skydiver is increasing. It says after the parachute opens, it slows down to a terminal velocity. Use figure 1.2 to determine the terminal velocity of the skydiver. So what you will do here is you will take the gradient of, no, it's not the gradient because this is not a speed time graph. This is a speed and the force graph. So as you can see that the speed is increasing all the way up to 6. Okay, so 6 is the point where, sorry, it's just short of 6. I can see it is 5.8. So 5.8 will become the final velocity where the velocity stops to increase. And then it says calculate the force on the skydiver when the speed is 5.5. So when you go here, 5.5, and you go here, and then you calculate this from this side of the scale. That will tell you the resultant force. Now, this question will not be in our exam because this is from previous exam. We might get a question where the forces are acting at right angle. So you can use the Pythagoras theorem to calculate the hypotenuse. That will give you the resultant. And the tan inverse, the identity, tan inverse will give you the direction of the resultant. This question is upside down. I got these questions from some of the city school websites, but you can easily do that. You have practiced a lot. So we'll move on to the next question. So here it says that a student tries to measure the thickness of the sheet with a ruler, but the sheet is too thin. Obviously, the sheet is too thin. You can't use a ruler. Okay, what is meant by mass? The mass is the quantity of matter. Student is told that the density is 0.91. Calculate the volume. The volume will be density multiply mass because the density is given as mass per unit volume. So we will calculate the volume here. Now, the student measures the length and the width. So the length of the sheet is this. You know the volume. The width is this. And the volume will be one length time width time thickness. And you have the volume on one side, length multiply width on one side, and then thickness as the variable. So you will divide this volume with length and width, and you will get the thickness. State a measuring instrument. You can use a micrometer to measure the thickness of the sheet. Then we have the two people sitting on two chairs. State and explain how the pressure. Well, the guy with the four legs will have the less pressure, and the guy with the two legs will have more pressure. Because you have to explain this, and you have to say that because the area in contact is less, and the pressure increases inversely with the area. As the area decreases, the pressure increases. So we have the chair fall over if it's tilted backward more than figure 5.2. So in 5.2, it is because the center of gravity of both the chair and the guy is quite close to the base area, this one. So this is the base area and this is the center of gravity. If you tilt more, it goes there and it will fall down. So if the base area is, if the center of gravity is close and it goes out of the base area, the chair might fall down. This question is the pressure and volume relationship. You have the gas initial pressure, this one, and the volume, this one. The gas exerts pressure. You know the 2 points that the molecules collide with each other and with the walls of the container. They exert the force, and the force on the container per unit area is the pressure. The piston is slowly pulled to the right. So the volume is increasing. And you have to calculate the pressure. You will be using P1, V1, P2, V2, where you will calculate the P2. In this question, we have this diagram. We can see that this 4 Newton weight is acting as force counterclockwise, anti-clockwise moment, and this Newton meter is exerting a force in the upward direction. So this will create a clockwise moment. So these two moments will be equated to each other, put equal to each other. And principle of moment, you should revise it from the book. The reading of the Newton meter will be, you will be placing 20 times distance 20 distance times the force of the Newton meter equal to 4 Newton multiplied 40, and you will get the weight of the, the force exerted by the Newton meter. In this question, you have two cups. One is shaped different than the other, and it is heated, they're both heated by electric heater. Heat is transferred through conduction, and you must mention the full process of the conduction, which you should revise. And then we have why the coffee is not kept as warm is because this small air gap, this air gap stops conduction from the plate to the cup. The air gets warm, and air is not a good conductor of heat, so that's why it will not get enough heat to keep the coffee warm. This cup has full bottom in contact with the electrical heater, so it will keep it warm. And which cup is better? Well, to keep the heat inside, you need a shiny and a white surface. Next question, we have a satellite orbiting Earth. The quantities scalar are mass and speed. These are the scalar quantities. Make sure you circle the scalar quantities, not the vector ones. So what is meant by velocity? The rate of change of displacement. The other definition is the change in speed in a given direction. Why the velocity changes in this case? Well, as you can see, every moment it is changing the direction. Although the speed is not changing, but the direction is changing, hence the velocity will change. What makes satellite move? 2 points. Well, first we will say that the satellite experiences gravitational attraction towards Earth, which becomes the necessary centripetal force to keep the satellite pulling towards itself, and hence it will provide the necessary force. Then we have a rocket. It is the thrust of the rocket given here, the total mass of the rocket, total weight of the rocket, and the force acting upwards as 50 newtons. So the thrust produced by engine will be given as the downward force minus the resultant force is the 50,000 newtons. So the thrust produced will be 50,000 plus the weight of the rocket. So engine has to provide this force, 400,000 newton plus 50,000 newton to make the rocket accelerate upwards. And the acceleration of the rocket will be given by the F is equal to ma, so A will be F over m. The force will be the resultant force, which is 50 newtons, and the mass is 40,000. That will give you the acceleration. First 4 minutes, make note of the 4 and the minute. After takeoff, the acceleration is uniform. Uniform acceleration when the velocity, rate of change of velocity is constant. So the velocity is changing at a constant rate. And then you have to draw the speed-time graph using this information. So for a uniform acceleration, the acceleration on the speed-time graph is given by a line. If it's uniform, it's a straight line. If it's an increasing acceleration, it is moving. So it is the curve going in the up direction. When it's decreasing acceleration, the curve is going in the down direction. Constant speed, the line becomes flat. So it will be first, it will be a line, straight line, and then moving this way, and then moving this way, and then going like this. How speed time can be used to find the distance? You can, well, 2 marks here. So you should calculate the area under the graph of the figure 2, and that will give you the speed time acceleration, the distance covered. Then we have this question. In this question, there is a suitcase going up by 6 meters and it is covering 9 meters distance. So first of all, the question asks the difference between mass and weight. You have already done mass and weight. So mass is the quantity of matter and weight is the force acting on an object due to its mass, due to the gravitational acceleration. The suitcase mass is 20 kg, so we will use this data, and increase in the gravitational potential energy will be used. The formula mgh, mass given, gravity acceleration given, h height given. You will be using the height 6 meters, and you will calculate the potential energy. Now this question, it says that the suitcase takes 12 seconds to travel 9 meters. Okay, so it is taking 12 seconds to travel 9 meters. And this question asking you to calculate the kinetic energy of the suitcase. So in order to know the kinetic energy, there are 2 approaches. First approach is if you know that the suitcase has gained some potential energy, this must have come from the change in the change in the kinetic energy. So the kinetic energy increases and then decreases as the suitcase is going up. As you can clearly see that the force applied by the motor is constant. Okay, it is applying the same force. As the suitcase is going up, it becomes slower and slower, and it stops here. So when the suitcase is becoming slower and the constant force is applying, that means the kinetic energy here was maximum, and here it becomes 0. So you will be using the change in the kinetic energy as the sorry, the loss in the kinetic energy will be gain in the potential energy. So your potential energy that you have calculated in the second part will be your kinetic energy from the beginning. That's the only approach that works here. Define kinetic and potential energy. Well, the kinetic energy is energy due to motion, and potential energy is the energy due to height. Principle of conservation says that energy can neither be created nor be destroyed. It changes from one form to another. How the principle applies, I have already explained this. The kinetic energy changes into potential energy. Electrical energy of the motor, renewable sources. What is a renewable source? A source that is replenished, that can be replenished, and it also a source that doesn't run out for a long time. Examples will be solar energy, hydroelectric energy, energy in the spring. Okay, and that ends our question paper. I hope this was very helpful to you for your preparation. If there is any other queries, please feel free to ask.